Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I've got a video for you today on a sheath that I just made for this Gil Hibben Western toothpick. It's a pretty cool knife. It is huge. It's got some beef to it. It's got some heft. And I am really excited to say that this one is mine, as my customer Greg bought two and sent this one and said just keep this. So use it to form his sheath as well as keep it for myself. So that's really super generous of him. So Greg, I got something for you as well. But I'll get to that in just a minute. So guys, obviously I am wearing a harness right now. This is a 4-point harness, and you guys have probably seen similar things in a 3-point harness from me. The reason why this one is a 4-point and not a 3-point is because Greg asked if I could create a sheath for him that would carry his knife vertically in the center of his back. So you can see that's how I've got that set up right now. The main draw for going with a 4-point over a 3-point really is that you're going to have symmetrical pressure coming from all sides, from all four sides, and it's going to help that vertical, that perfect, vertical alignment stay there throughout the duration of your carry. Versus a 3-point where you could get it into a vertical position, no problem, but whether or not it would stay there or the pressure was sufficient to hold it there, that I think remains to be determined. And I think you'd probably stand a much better chance of it staying in that vertical position if you also somehow had a 3-point, anchored to the belt. But without having to do any kind of belt anchor, a 4-point is going to solve that problem for sure. So I've been doing these harnesses with Beach and Tactical. We collaborated on designing something. Basically, he does the webbing work that includes these tri-glide buckles and these side release buckles, sews it all in place, makes these nice pieces for me, sends them out to me. I assemble it with a welded metal O-ring, and I also make Kydex. I use a D-ring and a piece of Kydex that I fold through the flat bar of the D-ring and attach, I put an eyelet in it so that you can attach it to any given hole on a sheath or a holster or whatever. So these are really, really versatile. They can be mounted in just almost limitless different possibilities. So yeah, you've only seen 3-point on my channel so far. I've been getting some questions lately from people. Should I choose a 3 or a 4-point harness? Because I've made it known that you could get 3 or 4-point harnesses from me. That is really up to you, but let me give you my insight on it. Let me give you my thoughts on it. So as far as like the price per arm, 4 is going to be basically the same price per arm as 3. It's going to be slightly cheaper, but you're not really saving money per arm because really it's the price of each arm plus the price of the hardware, the D-rings, the Kydex, the work to make that all happen. So I kind of factor that all in. Doing a 4th arm doesn't take the same amount of energy as doing a 3, and I'm not adding another O-ring or anything. So you do save just a tiny bit of money, but don't let that be the determining factor because it's not a significant chunk of change between 3 and 4-point harnesses. Really, it's all about function, and you really want to, I think you should go straight for function over cost because the cost really is pretty marginal when we're getting down to it. So, and I'm not going to announce the price in any of the videos that I'm making. The reason I don't want to do that in general is because a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, this video is probably still going to be up, but the prices might have shifted up or down, most likely up just based on inflation, based on, that's just how the industry works typically. But I don't want to tell you guys in a video that it costs this much now and then 2 years from now get an email going back and forth and get a customer ticked off at me because I'm quoting a higher price. So it's just, that's just how it is. So, okay, 3-point versus 4-point. What are the advantages and disadvantages? In my opinion, a 3-point harness is a little bit easier to configure and operate as far as the angles that you want to carry at. It does, usually it's sufficient pressure, sufficient stability, all that good stuff. Sorry guys. And you can also achieve almost any height or angle on your chest or back with a 3-point harness. These also, just so you know, have a lot of excess. They are large straps, and Jacob has designed them that way so that we can accommodate just about any body size or type. So obviously you're going to have to adjust them. You might have to even trim the straps or buy some of those elastic strap wranglers or whatever you want to do. But the whole idea with this is versatility in general. So, okay, so 3-point, I think you can achieve basically any ride height, angle, all that, be perfectly stable, yada yada. The one maybe small exception would be for a perfect vertical carry, particularly in the context of a knife. So you've got a pancake style sheath like the one I'm wearing on my back here, and you're going to have symmetrical pressure coming from each side. That just makes a lot of sense in terms of a way to keep that vertical position completely intact, unshifted, unchanged throughout the duration of the time that you're carrying your sheath on your back. Another really cool thing about the 4-point harness in particular is, check this out. If you spring for the 4-point, and I'm not saying it because my profit's better on a 4-point, it's not. It's no better. I pay the same. I'll get paid the same per arm, so it doesn't really matter to me. But I would spring for the 4 because if you decide you want it to shift to a 3-point, you can just unweave one of these arms, take it off this O-ring, take it off the sheath. All of a sudden, you've got a 3-point harness. So that seems to be a really, it's logical. It just kind of makes sense that if you wanted to, you would have that extra arm so you could shift back and forth between 3 or 4-point harness. Just food for thought there. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm yawning a lot. I got coffee in me. Apparently not enough. Okay, so what else do we have here? I don't think I really have anything else to say about the harnesses other than that I don't think you can really make a wrong choice between 3 or 4-point harness. These are really versatile. Some of the other things that you can do with this, by the way, you can use these arms to convert the sheath into a dangler. You can use them to convert it to a drop leg. You can do a lot of different stuff. You could even take the arms and just wrap it around a backpack, tighten them down, and you've got yourself a pack-mounted sheath. Even if your backpack doesn't have MOLLE, you can do that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. And I really think the back carry option is pretty cool, even though I probably wouldn't carry it there myself just because I'm not particularly comfortable resheathing the knife. I'll show you in a minute how bad I am at it. But yeah, I probably wouldn't carry on the back myself, but I do think it's a really cool option. And if you're dealing with a knife that's, depending on how big, I think the bigger, the better in some instances, in terms of whether or not you could put a pack over it. The bigger, the better, I'm saying, because then you're not going to feel like there's just this bulge behind your back, behind your pack or whatever, between you and your pack. Rather, with something like this, you're going to feel even pressure basically the entire length of your back, which feels a lot more comfortable in my opinion. So, yeah, that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. 4-point, probably a little better than the 3-point overall, just because you have the option to configure it as a 4 or a 3-point. All right, so as far as how this would go on your back, you've got some options. I believe I've set this up the way, here, let me go this way so you can actually see it. I believe I've set this up the way that he intends to carry it. So it's going to be, use my hand to help me. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm just not comfortable with it. There we go. All right. All right, so you can hear it snaps in place. It's not going anywhere. By the way, the reason why it's not tight on me right now, it's kind of, this is not how I would wear it. I would absolutely tighten it down. The reason I didn't tighten it down is because these straps, these tri-glide buckles, are kind of locking buckles. So as you weave your webbing through them, there's a way to do it that locks the webbing in place. Jacob taught me this. I'm going to show you guys too. And it does take a fair bit of effort to get them in and out of that position. So I would recommend that, I'm going to send it to Greg just like this. And It's about the right size for my body. It just needs to be tightened a little bit. He might be a completely different body type, size, whatever. But the way that I've got it right now, it's not locked, so it's easier to adjust. So what I would recommend is adjusting it where it's at, and then you've got it kind of in place, and you can then do the additional weaving to lock it in place. So, all right, let me just, real quick, I'm going to do one more time. Drawing like that, you can absolutely do that. Resheathing, I find very difficult in that position. Let me take this off. Also, how I would recommend operating this, you could do it with both of the bottom, we'll call them the rib straps, I guess, but I would just probably leave the top, once you've got it, the length configured, just leave the top configured, or buckled all the time. That way it's just a matter of, you know, slip it on like that, and then bring your buckles around and do them up like that. Okay? So let me show you real quick how you want to lock these in place. Let's say this strap has been configured to the ideal length and I'm ready to lock it in place. So what you're going to want to do, you can see that I've gone through both sides of this tri-glide buckle on the bottom strap, came through the D-ring, and now I'm only going through the first side of the first one and the second side of the second one. That makes it really, really easy if you need to do quick adjustment. Now, I know what the right length is, so let me real quick show you. So you're going to want to, you could leave the first one as is. In fact, I would recommend it. If you take that first one out, you're going to lose your length. Leave the first one as is. Take the second one. Now go through both sides of that tri-glide. Now, the reason why the longer strap has 2 of these tri-glides on it and the shorter strap only has 1, with the longer strap, you're going to have a lot more excess. And what you can do with this, check it out. I'm going to feed a lot of this excess back through. All right, so now, look at that. Now you're going to take the strap up and over. So you're just going to double it back over and go back down through the far side only. Obviously, the reason this locks in place, these metal buckles, they do have an aggressive edge on them, so that kind of helps to mitigate any kind of slippage with the webbing going through it, but also because you have 3 layers of webbing packed through this one slot right there. So that really locks it in place. It is not going to move on you at all, guarantee. So just make sure you lock all of your straps once you find the ideal length. So Greg, I'll leave one of these locked, and then you can just use that as kind of like the model to see how the other ones are going to go. So, all right, guys. Real quick look at the sheath one more time. Here, let me buckle this up. Just make sure I'm not catching on anything. It's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle when you're trying to... Oh, there we go. It's going around the wrong side. Also, just while I'm thinking about it, part of the versatility of this system comes from the fact that you can orient your D-rings, you can connect your D-rings to any eyelet hole on the sheath. That means that you can change the ride height, you can change the angle, you can change where the pressure is, etc., etc. And that just makes it a really, really cool thing. So all these D-rings are single point attachment. You can easily change them. Just use a Phillips head screwdriver, and you can swap those to any other position. All right. So one more quick look at this sheath here. Basically, let me get the straps out of the way before I accidentally cut it. Simple pancake style sheath. I cut a nice finger groove there. You can use this slant as a thumb ramp if you want. It doesn't quite work the same way as a normal thumb ramp. I wouldn't push directly against it. Rather, I would push to the side slightly. So as you're pushing against it, maybe flex it out that way a little to help it spread. And I can't do it with my arm facing that way, but I'll do it like that. You can see it's got some pop, and it wants to come right off the sheath. It is a really good smooth draw, and it's got a really great positive click in, especially where the intention is to carry this inverted. That positive click is going to give you some confidence. I'm really happy with how this came out. I feel like I can get a good grip on that. Didn't sacrifice any retention for it. And yeah, I just think it looks cool, carries really cool, and you do have a lot of options as far as how you're going to use this. One other really cool feature about this, the spacing, you can tell, is just slightly wide. The eyelets are a little bit further from the blade than I would have normally put them. The reason I did it is so that it could be just wide enough to work with molly webbing. So Greg, if you ever decide that you want to just straight up put this on molly locks and throw it onto a pack or molly panel of some kind, these are spaced at 3 inches apart from side to side, and I think that goes pretty much until, I think these two holes here are the last that would work with it. But so you have a lot of options as far as how to carry this thing. So, all right, guys, that's what I got for you. Greg, before I forget here on camera, so Greg gave me this knife. He gifted it to me. Extraordinarily generous of him, and he's been waiting patiently for a long time. He also had faith in me to come up with a solution to the harness issue before Beechin and I ever solidified this design. I told him that I was working on it with the guy, and Greg trusted us to come up with a good solution and placed an order with me. So Greg, you are getting this harness for free. He had originally paid for just the sheath itself, and we had said, we'll take care of the sheath now, get him to the queue, and then the harness is something we'll worry about later. Well, my friend, your generosity is getting thrown right back to you, I hope, in the form of this harness. So I'd like to gift this to you, and hope you really enjoy it, brother. This thing is really cool. I really appreciate the knife, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this sheath and this harness setup. So, all right, guys. I've rambled for long enough. I know this is a really long video. I just wanted to cover all my bases, not only for the sheath itself, but for the different harness things, the purposes of wearing a harness. I'm a huge fan. You guys know I say it in almost all my harness or baldric videos that a chest harness, in this case back harness, or a baldric sling are my favorite ways to carry larger or heavier knives or systems. Particularly sling is my favorite. Baldric is my all-time favorite carry. And the reason why I like carrying it, on my chest or on my shoulder in a sling format is because it bears the weight a lot easier. So you can have a really heavy setup without the trouble of dealing with it on your belt. You can also put a rucksack on with big wide hip straps. You don't have to worry about your sheath interfering with the hip straps on your belt, whatever. It just opens up the way that you carry a knife to work with all kinds of different scenarios, like hiking, like camping, like maybe you don't want to be wearing a belt, maybe you don't want to be wearing pants that can support a belt, maybe you just want to be in athletic shorts and go for a little jog or hike or whatever. I really like chest and baldric carry myself because it allows me to do all these things without having to worry about the belt, the bulk, or the inconvenience of how it interacts with a pack. Just put your pack on and throw the baldric sling over it, or just put your chest harness on and then put your pack over that. In this case, same thing, back and then pack. Back harness, then pack. So, all right, guys. Sorry for such a long video. I know this is a very simple setup to be talking for 20 minutes, but I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. I've been getting emails and texts and phone calls from a lot of you guys just asking, hey, are you okay? I haven't seen a video up in a while. Yes, guys, I am all set. I'm doing great, and it is all thanks to you guys and the orders that you placed with me. As you know, my books are closed because I've been catching up on orders. I'm almost caught up now, so look for my books to be open very soon. And thank you guys all for the support, for watching the channel, for subscribing, for commenting down below, liking this video, etc., etc. And of course, I hope to see you in the next one. Guys, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. God bless.